Hi everyone, in this lesson we're going to look at order of operations with negative fractions, and it's a non-calculator lesson. Our first question says calculate negative 3/5 multiplied by 2/10, add negative 2 over 25. So in the same way with our normal order of operations, we have to be careful what order we do things in. We have this helpful triangle on the right hand side to remind us which order we do it in. So our first level is B for brackets, our second level is indices, then we have division and multiplication, and addition and subtraction. So let's look at what we have in this question. Well, we've got multiplication and we have addition. We need to do our multiplication first and then do our addition after that. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply 3/5 and 2/10 together. And to multiply fractions, we multiply our numerators and we multiply our denominators. And because I'm doing a negative multiplied by a positive, my overall result will be negative. So I'll do 3 multiplied by 2 to give me 6. And I'll do 5 multiplied by 10 to give me 50. And I have to remember that this is going to be negative. My answer to that first part is negative 6 over 50. I'm then adding on negative 2 over 25. Okay. In order to add fractions, the rule is that I have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to have to change this negative 2 25ths to have a denominator of 50. So let's imagine we had 2 25ths, and we want to make this equal to a fraction where the denominator is 50. I've multiplied by 2 to go from 25 to 50, so I'll multiply 2 by 2 to take me to 4 50ths. What this means is I've got negative 6 50ths. I'm adding negative 2 25ths, which is the same thing as taking away 2 25ths. And we've said 2 25ths is equal to 4 50ths. Now this calculation, negative 6 50ths take away 4 50ths, is really similar to the calculation negative 6 take away 4. And the answer to this is negative 10. Therefore, the answer to my calculation is negative 10 over 50. We can simplify that fraction by dividing by 10 on the numerator to give us 1, and dividing by 10 on the denominator to give us 5. So my answer is negative 1/5. I could leave it as a fraction, or I could write it as negative 0.2. That's my answer. Pause the video and give this question a go. Okay, so we've got negative 4/12 divided by negative 2/3, subtract negative 1/2. Lots of negatives involved in that. Division is what I want to do first, and then I'm going to follow that by subtraction. Let's go ahead and do this fraction calculation first. So negative 4/12 divided by negative 2/3. Remember, our rule is that when we're dividing by a number, that is equivalent to multiplying by the reciprocal of the number. I'll take the reciprocal. That means I swap the position of the numerator and denominator to give me negative 3 over 2. You might have heard something like keep, change, flip. So keep this fraction as 4/12, change the division symbol to a multiplication symbol, and then flip the fraction we're dividing by. But the better way to think of that mathematically is dividing by a number is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. I'm then going to write in this next part, so subtract negative 1/2. Let's go ahead and do our multiplication, just to draw our attention to the fact I'm doing a negative number multiplied by another negative number, so my result is going to be positive. Let's go ahead and multiply our fractions together. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. 12 multiplied by 2 is 24. And I know my answer is positive, so my answer is 12 24ths. I'm then subtracting negative 1/2. It's probably worth simplifying 12 24ths. So I can see that that's equivalent to the fraction 1/2. I'm doing 1/2 subtract negative 1/2. Remember that when we're subtracting a negative, that is equivalent to adding the corresponding positive. So subtracting negative 1/2 is the same as adding 1/2. 1/2 add 1/2 is 1. So that's what you should have got. So our next example involves some powers and some mixed numbers. So let's have a look. Negative 2 and 2/3 divided by negative 2/3 all squared. Let's go over to our order of operations. We don't have any brackets as such. I mean, obviously the negatives are in brackets, but what I mean by that is we don't have any calculations inside the brackets. Our next level is indices, and we do have some of that. So we have this negative 2/3 all squared. Negative 2/3 all squared means negative 2/3 multiplied by negative 2/3. So let's go ahead and do that bit first. So that's our first thing we need to do. Then we need to do the division second. Let's pick up where we left off with the negative 2/3 squared. A negative multiplied by a negative gives me a positive answer overall. So I'll just do 2 multiplied by 2 to give me 4, 3 multiplied by 3 to give me 9. So my answer is 4/9. Let's rewrite this line as negative 2 2/3 divided by 4/9. So my next step is to do the division. Before I do that, I want to turn negative 2 2/3 into an improper fraction. So let's convert 2 2/3 into an improper number. So what I do is I do 3 multiplied by 2 to give me 6 and put that over a denominator of 3. What I've done there is I've turned the whole number 2 into a fraction over 3 because 6 over 3 is 2. It's 2 2/3. I've got my 2. I need to add on my 2/3. So 2 2/3 is equal to 8/3. What that means is that negative 2 2/3 is equal to negative 8/3. I'm doing negative 8/3 divided by 4/9. Same idea as what we've seen in the previous example. Dividing by a number is equivalent to multiplying by its reciprocal. So dividing by 4/9 is equivalent to multiplying by the reciprocal of 4/9, which is 9/4. And here I can spot I can do some cross simplifying. So I can divide through by 3 on the denominator here and divide through by 3 on the numerator here. Same idea with the 8 and the 4. I can divide through by 4 on the denominator here and on the numerator here. Now remember, I'm doing a negative multiplied by positive, so my overall answer is going to be negative. I'll do 2 multiplied by 3 to give me 6, 1 multiplied by 1 to give me 1. So it's negative 6/1, which is equal to negative 6. Pause the video and give this one a go. So 1 3/5 multiplied by negative 1/4 squared. Here we have indices, that's what I'm going to do first, and then multiplication, which is what I'm going to do second. Negative 1/4 squared is equal to negative 1/4 multiplied by negative 1/4. A negative multiplied by a negative is a positive, so I'll do 1 multiplied by 1 to give me 1, 4 multiplied by 4 to give me 16. So this is 1/16. That's 1 3/5 multiplied by 1/16. Let's turn 1 3/5 into an improper fraction. So here we have 1 3/5. Do 5 multiplied by 1 and put that over a denominator of 5. What I've done there is I've turned the 1 into a fraction over 5 because 5/5 is 1. And then I add on my 3/5 to give me 8/5. I'll rewrite this line as 1 3/5. Well, that was 8/5 multiplied by 1/16. Then I'll look to simplify if I can, and I can divide through by 8 on the numerator here and on the denominator here. Then I'll go ahead and multiply my fractions together. 1 multiplied by 1 is 1, and 5 multiplied by 2 is 10. So you should have got an answer of 1/10. For our last example, quite a lot going on in this one. Let's have a look at it. So we're doing the cube root of negative 9 divided by 1/3, add a half. So we look at our triangle for our order of operations. Our first level, so to speak, is brackets. And we do have a bracket here, so we want to do that bracket first. Then we move on to our indices. That means I'm going to want to do the cube root part second, after I find out what the bracket is. And then I will do my addition last. Okay, let's look at this first. Negative 9 divided by 1/3. We've said throughout the lesson that dividing by a number is equivalent to multiplying by its reciprocal. So dividing by 1/3 is equivalent to multiplying by 3/1 or 3. Negative 9 multiplied by 3 is negative 27. Let's rewrite this as the cube root of negative 27, add a half. The cube root of negative 27, well, ask yourself what number multiplied by itself 3 times gives you negative 27, and the answer is negative 3. So we're doing negative 3, add a half. So let's turn negative 3 into a fraction with a denominator of 2. So think of 3 as 3/1, multiply it by 2 on the numerator and denominator. That's going to give you negative 6/2. I'll rewrite this as negative 6 over 2, add 1 over 2. And just treat this like you would if you were doing negative 6 add 1. Well, negative 6 add 1 is negative 5. So negative 6 halves add a half is negative 5 over 2. We could then turn that into a decimal. So 2 goes into 5 twice with 1 left over. So my answer is negative 2.5. Pause the video and give this one a go. So we want to go ahead and tidy up what negative 6 multiplied by negative 3 over 2 is. Well, first things first, it's a negative multiplied by a negative, so my overall result is going to be positive. And what I can say is that 6 as a fraction is 6 over 1, and 3 over 2 I'll leave as it is. And I've got rid of the negative symbols because I know I'm going to do negative multiplied by negative. I know my answer is positive, so that's why I've done that. Then we do our cross simplifying, so divide through by 2 on this numerator and on this denominator. Then go ahead and multiply your numerators. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, 1 multiplied by 1 is 1, so my answer is 9. Let's rewrite our calculation as the square root of 9. Nice easy one, the answer to that is 3. If you're using our lesson booklets, you can now complete exercises 1 to 3. Thank you for watching this video.